Chapter 13, exercise for the imperfect, middle, and passive in the indicative. So here is the text for the exercise. Please note the footnote for number 2 regarding the augment for the word apejo. The augment is echan for echo, and so that spelling is in the word with the footnote. So let's move to number 1. We will be doing both the middle and the passive for these. Since there is no context to know, we're just going to do them both. So for the first one, we have I was stopping for myself in the middle, and in the passive, it is I was being stopped. We have he was washing for himself in the middle, and in the passive, he was being washed. In this example, we have the present tense in the passive and the middle voice. When you go through that paradigm in your mind, you have that my, psi, tai, methystheton, tai. So that tai is for the third person singular, he, she, or it. And there is no augment on the beginning of the word, so this is in the present. We have he is guarding himself in the middle. And in the passive, we get he is being guarded. Number 2, we've got our nominative plural right in the beginning, so the apostles. And here is that footnote for the augmenting of echo. This middle part is the augment, and part of our vocabulary is apejo. And so this I'm going to put as were abstaining themselves, because it is in the middle or the passive. This ending only fits with the middle and the passive in the imperfect, and it is augmented, so we know that. Here we have a standalone preposition from, and that is going to be with the ablative, the world. Oh, and here I've noted what the vocabulary word is. I keep off. In the middle, I keep myself from or abstain. In number 3, the sentence, if you notice, the nominative is at the end, and so this is translated as in the house, and we're going to put the Lord before the verb in the English. The Lord was being glorified. There's the augment, and we have that eto ending in the singular. Now, if you think about trying to communicate something in English, it kind of answers the question of where. If someone were to ask you, where was the Lord being glorified, you would start the sentence with, in the house the Lord was being glorified. If you were maybe answering a question of who was being glorified, you then might start the sentence with the Lord. So sometimes these phrases kind of put an emphasis on the beginning, even though word order doesn't matter in the sentence. It puts an emphasis on where, because we're opening with in the house. This is a neuter word, teknon. The child was being brought or led, and this is translated as by the man, and this is singular. Notice the augment and then the ending for the imperfect. In this phrase, we're going to do both the passive and the middle. Here we have a conjunction. Most of the time it's translated as and for right now that's what we're going to be doing is and. So in the passive, here's our saw ending, that sigma is gone. Since we have the imperfect here, we're being saved. And here we have an active ending, on, s, amen, ete, on. It still is in the second person singular, but it is active. So I have and then I continue the sentence here, you were looking up. That was for the passive. In the middle, we have you were saving yourself and you were looking up. And you know this is imperfect because there's the augment, and then our ending fits with the on, s, amen, ete, on. So number 1 here, this is in the passive because we've got was being preached as to preaching itself. So I've got for the word, we have halogos, and the word for proclaiming is keruso, and so we have to now put that in the imperfect passive. So we add the augment, and we change the ending for the third person singular. By is going to be hupo, and then we put the apostles, ton apostolon. This is ablative, it is plural, and notice that the accent has moved. Here we're going to be doing the middle because we've got they were washing themselves. This is a middle voice. The children for the neuter in the plural is ta tekna. And now we just have the verb, putting luo, I wash, into the imperfect. We add the augment and add the ending for the third person plural, onto. Number 3 is passive. We can put the I at the ending of the verb, so we're going to do the main ending. And the word for judged, for I judge, is krino, so we add the augment and then stick on that ending for I was being judged. By is hupo, and then men is in the plural, and there is no definite article because it doesn't say the here. Number 4 is going to be passive, was being. Kind of the indicator here is being. It's kind of a state. So the angel, ha angelos, and of the Lord is going to be in the genitive, and then our verb. Our verb for hearing, akuo, is I hear, so now we're going to take the alpha and lengthen it into the eta, and we add the ending for the third person singular eto. For number 5, it's passive, being. We've got that being in the sentence here for passive. The law, ha nomos. Here is where we have to get our verb right. So we've got the law is kind of an it subject, so it's third person singular, so we have the ta ending with a connecting vowel. And the word for teach, we put the augment on. The word for teach is didasko, and so the verb we want is didasketo. In the temple, it's pretty straightforward. And then the locative, the temple, in the singular. Number 6, we have the active voice. You can tell because we don't necessarily have that they were being looked up or they were looking up for themselves. It just says they were looking up. So were puts us in the past for the imperfect, and the looking is an incomplete action, which also puts us in the imperfect. So we have hoi douloi for the servants, and part of the vocabulary on a blepo I look up, it's the vocabulary for this chapter. Notice the alpha here as part of the spelling. When we put it in the imperfect, we're going to drop the alpha and put in the epsilon, and then we have the on for the active voice. On, s, amen, ete, on is for they. This could also be first person singular, but we do have context. We've got the servants. So on. And then into the heavens, we've got ace, tous, oranus. And this is plural, so that's why that's plural there. This one was a little bit challenging in that we had some present thrown in and we'd had some active endings thrown in. So we're kind of keeping ourselves on our toes and making those connections to solidify the material.